Shalom, 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 shalom. As always, first I want to give the praises and the glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the glory, Bahasham, to the Heavenly Father, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Yahweh is the name of the Most High God, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone, as always. Double honors to you. And shalom to the hopefully elect brothers and sisters of the house of Israel. As the Bible says, many are called, but few are chosen. The chosen are the elect of the true nation of Israel. Now, America revives the Monroe Doctrine and slams Europe. And as you should know by now, the 10 horns that the Bible speaks of in Daniel 7 is talking about Europe, ancient Europe, that has now, what's the word I'm looking for? That's, the word's just gone straight out of my head. That basically ancient Europe, that what we know today as modern Europe, all right? But it was a particular word that's metamorphed. That's the word I'm looking for. Ancient Europe, which has metamorphed into modern Europe, which we call the European Union, is the 10 horns that the Bible speaks about in Daniel 7 and Revelations 13 and 17, which thou sawest are the 10 kings, all right? Now, Trump, for those of you who don't know what the Monroe Doctrine is, the Monroe Doctrine was proclaimed by US President James Monroe, right, in 1823. It was a US foreign policy declaring the Americas closed to further European colonization and interference, asserting the Western Hemisphere as a US sphere of influence. So while the US promised non-interference in European affairs, it evolved from anti-colonial rhetoric to justify America's dominance and intervention, and becoming a cornerstone of American strategy, recently seen and renewed in the emphasis of the US security policy, which is what America's pushing now under Donald Trump. So, you know, that's what the Monroe Doctrine is, right? It goes back to basically they're saying hands off the Western Hemisphere, it's all ours, right? Everything in the Western Hemisphere is under America control and American influence, right? They're no longer concerned what's going on in Europe, right? Which is beautiful. All prophetic, all prophetic. So let me just play a bit of this from Redacted, as I did fair use, as I did play it at the beginning. All right, we'll just play this from Redacted, and then we're going to bring out some scriptures. All right, so let's just hit play.
You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point.
A tipping point? Folks, that might be the understatement of the year, because while the media is obsessing over clickbait and manufactured outrage, NATO's worst nightmare is quietly becoming reality, and the technocratic control of the United States under Palantir and Peter Thiel and all of those guys is happening in real time. And yes, everything is changing right before our eyes. I'm going to show you exactly how this is unfolding. So over the past 48 hours, I received exclusive information from sources, information that has not been reported anywhere else. And here it is, that 2 Russian nuclear submarines have arrived off the coast of Venezuela, and more are on their way. This is in addition to the
2 Russian nuclear submarines, right? 2 Russian nuclear submarines. This is what's going on behind the scenes.
The Russian battleship coast of Venezuela. And here it is, that 2 Russian nuclear submarines have arrived off the coast of Venezuela, and more are on their way. This is in addition to the Russian battleships and cruisers, which have already headed to the region, and that has been reported. Let that sink in. These are not patrol ships. These are not advisors. These are nuclear submarines. And if you understand Russia's nuclear submarine fleet right now, this should set off alarms, because Russia's undersea nuclear capability is not just competitive with the United States, it's blowing us away. It surpasses us in several key areas: in size, in stealth, innovation. Their two new style submarines are the apex predators of the ocean right now, and we can't compete. And they are parked right now.
Can't compete because that's the spirit that Yahweh has put on these leaders. That's the spirit that's the spirit that Yahweh has put on, right? The Most High has put on Russia, all right, and their leaders. This is what he's done. This is what the angels are doing. These are the works that the angels of the Lord are doing, all right? The Most High's loyal servants. So Russia's nuclear submarine fleet has a message for NATO and the US Navy, all right?
Now in our hemisphere. Why? Because something much bigger is happening behind the scenes, something Washington and Brussels don't want to talk about. They keep talking around it, but we're going to talk straight at it today. And here it is. Last week, President Trump quietly unveiled what insiders are now calling the Trump Doctrine. You could call it the Trump Corollary. It's a seismic rewriting of the U.S. grand strategy that effectively ends the unipolar order that America has dominated since 1945. The U.S. as the reserve currency, as the superpower, gone. Trump just declared it. Dare I say that this is a game changer? You probably didn't hear about it because the media totally ignored it, completely actually. But Europe heard it, China heard it, Russia definitely heard it, hence the submarines. And Trump told the truth that NATO never once spoken out loud. There are now three great powers in the world: the United States, China, and Russia. That's it. Europe in the world, the United States, China, and Russia.
And they will go to war. These are the three main players, all right? And Israel. Israel is going to be a main player in the war of Armageddon, and Iran, all right? But these are the big boys, all right? But Israel, like the scripture says, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Iran will play a major part. But these are the big boys, right? These are the boys with the most nukes. And between America and Russia, they possess, I believe, 85% of all nuclear weapons around the world. So think about that, all right?
That's it. Europe, according to Trump's own national security team, Europe will cease to be relevant within 20 years. Their entire civilization changed forever.
It's going to be less than that, boy. It's not going to be 20 years. Europe is going to become irrelevant, way less than that. Like I said, how we feel in the spirit, the brothers, the apostles, the elders, that all of this is going to take place in this decade. We're not going to see out this decade without this complete change of rulership, the second coming of our Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, all right? But we believe in the spirit. We're going to see this all going to play out in this decade. So we've got, 4 years left in this decade, all right? That's all going to play out. The mark of the beast, the microchip, the war of Armageddon, the second coming of our Lord, the chariots, the deliverance, the destruction of Babylon the Great, the destruction of Israel, all right? You know, and the subjugation of all of the nations. So yeah, Europe will become irrelevant because most of those Europeans, right, those that are not of the house of Israel and they're not of the elect, will become servants, handmaids, and slaves in the kingdom of heaven coming to earth. All right. So absolutely, we believe it's going to take place in not 20 years time. All right. We believe this is going to all take place in this decade. Now we're not saying the actual scripture says, oh, it's going to take place by the year 2030. Right. We're saying the spirit, according to prophecy, according to the things that we see taking place in the secular world, that it's all going to take place in this decade. All right. And we want it to. Right? Basically, we don't want to see out another decade with these devils in power.
Relevant within 20 years. Trump's own national security team, Europe will cease to be relevant within 20 years. Their entire civilization changed forever. This isn't me saying this. This is the Trump administration's official view written down in a new doctrine. Trump's new strategy document essentially stunned the mainstream by bluntly stating that Europe faces a civilizational collapse. And it will be finished in 20 years. And of course,
all of the nations are going to have a civilization collapse. They're going to have it's going to be the greatest wake up call, right, this world has ever seen. All right, not just Europe, but Europe is a main player. All of these nations are going to be facing a civilization collapse in what they thought they believed. culture-wise, religious-wise, God-wise, you know, who they worship and praying. It's all going to come to light that all the gods of the nations are what? Are idols. If a brother can put that in the chat box for me, in the comment board, sorry. All the gods of the nations are idols, all right? We know that. So let me continue playing, sorry.
That means the death of NATO, a fossil that no longer is relevant. Colonel Douglas McGregor reacted to this on our show earlier this week by saying bluntly that NATO is dead. Watch.
NATO is disintegrating. We're trying to maintain this facade that such an alliance actually exists and is meaningful. But if you look at Berlin right now and Germany is like a volcano that is beginning to erupt.
This is the real world now. And Trump, unlike the neocons, is acknowledging it. So let's talk about Venezuela, because what you're being told is the sanitized version of what's happening there. You're told it's about narco-terrorism. That's a lie, of course, as we've debunked. So if you go one layer deeper, you probably think, oh, then it's about oil. But it's not even about that. You're told, oh, it's about Maduro. It's not about that either. Oh, it's about restoring democracy. Nope, it's not that. The real story that no insiders want to talk about is this. China is deeply entwined in Venezuela. China built the refineries. China built the infrastructure. They're building ports all through Latin America. China refines 30% of Venezuela's oil just off the coast in the Orinoco Belt. So yes, it's about oil, but it's about China's influence in our hemisphere, full stop. And Trump's new doctrine is a blunt reassertion of the Monroe Doctrine. The Western Hemisphere belongs to us, not Beijing. And the moment...
Listen to these devils. The Western Hemisphere belongs to us. This is what Scripture says. The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks. The brother can put that in the comment board. Obadiah chapter 1, right? That's the pride of these Edomites. The Western Hemisphere belongs to us. This man left Europe. He left the bottomless pit. He came with his diseases. He came with his weapons of war. He murdered. He pillaged. He raped. And he subjugated to claim what we know today as the Western Hemisphere, what they refer to as the Western Hemisphere, right? The fourth part of the world, as the scripture says in Revelation 6, right? This is the pale horse. But this is the pride. It says it belongs to us, right? I tell you, I can't wait for Yahweh Shem Yahushua to come, boy, and to set these devils in order. I'm not saying it. We believe he's a Jake, what's his name? Clayton, and his wife, Natalie. We do believe that they are Jakes, right? But like I said, that's that American pride, the Western Hemisphere. This is what Trump is trying to state with the game back to the Monroe Doctrine. This is what he wants, right? Basically, all right?
Doctrine. The Western Hemisphere belongs to us, not Beijing. And the moment Trump publicly rolled out this new strategy, guess who showed up? Russia sent nuclear submarines to Venezuela to say, hey, we're here too. And you don't get to.
Russia's a big player. We're here too. Nuclear subs to Venezuela. We're here too, because Russia is going to be the main number one adversary for Babylon the Great, the United States of America. All right? That's why they sent 2 nuclear subs and more.
Russia sent nuclear submarines to Venezuela to say, hey, we're here too. And you don't get to box us out. Are we playing this game? And what sources are telling me right now is that these 3 superpowers are shifting everything. Trump's own documents now say China is not an enemy, they're an economic competitor. The new Trump doctrine says we're done being the cops of the world, essentially. It says Taiwan, yeah, it's important, but it's not important if other countries aren't going to pay their fair share to actually assist in the defense of Taiwan, like Europe. In other words, Trump is saying we're going to start keeping our eyes on our own paper, and you'd better start doing the same, because we're not going to pay for it anymore. Now, the Trump doctrine isn't just anti-China. It also sidelines Moscow in a big way. It says America is no longer trying to run the entire planet, only its own hemisphere. Fortress America, essentially. And this is where the concerns about a technocratic rise in America come into play, right? It's for our security that we need to have all this biometric scanning and surveillance.
Which is going to lead you, ultimately going to lead you to the what? To the MOTB, to the microchip. It's not going to lead you to what? Those major other camps keep on trying to sell you, oh, it's going to lead you to, it's all about sin. It's sin. No, 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 no. It is an actual device that they're going to implant in you to monitor you, your every move and everything that you buy or sell, and for you to be able to move in this new world order. That device is going to be mandatory, right? Which is the chip. So that's right. This is why Palantir and these guys are all involved. As he said, let me just play that again.
Essentially. And this is where the concerns about a technocratic rise in America come into play, right? It's for our security that we need to have all this biometric scanning and surveillance under Palantir. So we're going to see how that part unfolds. But if Trump can pull this off, it's going to piss off a lot of war hawks at NATO who want us to go to war with Russia, who want us to invade Venezuela, who want us to keep bombing Somalia and the Houthis in Yemen. This is a massive shift, the biggest since 1945. From a global policeman to a continental superstate. Can we pull it off? That means enormous opportunities here at home if this happens. You can already see it in construction and manufacturing, the demand for electrical.
What does the scripture say? I would have healed Babylon, but Babylon cannot be healed. No, the Lord is going to make sure they go to war against Russia. There's no getting out of this. Clayton is saying, you know, there's so much, man, if we can avoid having to go to war with Russia. Listen, the neo hawks have got their claws in your president and the people around him. The Lord, the angels of the Lord have got their spirit set on those people to make sure that this war takes place. So Babylon cannot be healed. This is what you see. This makes me think. I think it's Jeremiah 50, where it says, "I would have healed Babylon. Babylon cannot be healed." So he thinks Babylon can be healed, right? This is what he's trying to tell you here. With all these jobs and this, nah, mate, it's not going to happen. The war is going to happen.
Superstate, can we pull it off? A global policeman to a continental super, biggest since 1945. From a global policeman to a continental superstate, can we pull it off? That means enormous opportunities here at home if this happens. You can already see it in construction and manufacturing. The demand for electrical engineers in this country is off the charts. Forget those like little bloggers that sit on a beach and write like travel blogs. No, no, no. What America needs now are real people that know how to do real jobs. Trump has essentially admitted something the political class never wanted to say out loud, that tariffs alone have not stopped China. The supply chain still sits in Asia, and our entire manufacturing base is hollowed out and gone. So now he's doing something much more radical. He's cutting off the hemisphere, a sealed economic and military wall, a fortified hemisphere, a return to pre-World War II strategic thinking, which we had in the United States, but on steroids. And this is why mass manufacturing is now being forced back into the United States. Rare earth mining is being nationalized, essentially. I mean, the U.S. is literally investing in precious metals, silver, copper.
Like I said, this is all talk. This is not going to happen. This is all talk. Talk, 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 talk. This is not going to happen. Babylon cannot be healed. As I said, I would have healed Babylon. Is it Jeremiah 50, 51? The brother's got it here. We just quickly put it up there. It can't be healed. The brother Kasad Bakaya, Jeremiah 51 and 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. Right? We would have healed Babylon. That's what the Lord is saying. But she is not healed. Forsake her. You got to forsake her, Clayton. And let us go, everyone, into his own country. Go back to Puerto Rico, right? For her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even unto the skies. She cannot be healed, Clayton. She cannot be healed. She's destined to be destroyed. Just so you understand.
Nickel, it's a vital national security interest, as Trump has declared it. Tariffs are being weaponized, of course, and Chinese influence is being ripped out of Latin America by force if necessary. Will they go quietly? Let's see how this plays out. Will Xi Jinping blink? Will Putin blink? This is not a policy tweak. This is a civilizational pivot right now. And the rest of the world is reacting. Europe is melting down. As Moon of Alabama put it bluntly, the new U.S. strategy strangles Europe, competes with China, and forgets the rest. And Europe knows it. They're done. Because if America withdraws its global NATO umbrella and China and Russia rise, which they are, then Europe essentially becomes irrelevant. And they know what's coming. Demographic collapse, energy shortages you're seeing all over Germany, industrial decline, a dependent military, a migrant crisis that cannot be reversed. Europe is staring at extinction as a geopolitical actor, and Trump just said it out loud and put it in a policy paper. This is why we're seeing panic behind the scenes. And speaking of panic, here's something else that sources have told me. There are 11,000 Chinese engineers currently in the United States. What are they doing here? Engineers? Not students, not tourists, engineers. And U.S. officials admit
they're sleepers, mate. They call them sleeping agents. They're sleepers until they get that call. Because they know, China know the war's coming. Russia knows the war's coming. And and Europe, the beast, the 10 horns, they know that they're in such a decline that they're like Israel. They will commit a 9/11 event. They will commit a false flag to initiate Article 5. All right. So these globalists have got fully loaded plans to make sure that this war happens. And the reason why it's got to happen, because it is Bible prophecy. It's as simple as that. There's no get out of jail card free. It's going to happen, Clayton. I'm sorry, my mate. It's going to happen, but we're going to be in a better place afterwards.
they have no idea where many of them are or what exactly they're even doing. So let me repeat that. Thousands of Chinese engineers inside the United States as Trump rolls out a doctrine.
They're sleepers. They call them sleeping agents. Someone put the definition for a sleeper. What are sleepers? All right, they're sleepers. That's what they are.
Designed explicitly to keep Eastern influence out of our hemisphere. Over the past 4 years under Biden, 200,000 Chinese came into the United States, 200,000. And of course, Trump wants to open the doors for 500,000 students to come in, which is all very weird, right? So do you see like a weird collision course happening here? 2026 is going to be an absolute mess. The economic front.
I believe it's going to be an absolute mess. A lot is going to take place in 2026, you know. Pull up your braces, brothers. A lot's going to take place. All I can say is that what we have to do is continue focusing on prophecy, on our relationship with Yahweh Bashim Shai. For you few sisters out there that have come back into the fold, you got to do the same thing. You got to focus on strengthening your relationship with the Most High God through the Son Yahweh Shai. All right? Because 2026, man, you think 2025 was a roller coaster ride? 2026 is going to be a roller coaster ride without any seatbelts, anything to hold you in those seats. That's how I see it.
Front is collapsing at the same time the geopolitical is good. So do you see like a weird collision course happening here? 2026 is going to be an absolute mess. The economic front is collapsing at the same time the geopolitical world is shifting. Right now, the United States businesses are going bankrupt at a blistering pace. New report out this week that we are entering a year where the economy breaks apart, NATO fractures and breaks apart, China tightens its grip, Russia plants nuclear submarines in our backyard, and America declares a new hemispheric empire. This is why Trump said we are at a tipping point. This is why you feel the tension right now. You feel why neocons are melting down. And according to journalist Lara Logan, who I spoke to this week, she says there are people inside Trump's own circle actively trying to sabotage this doctrine, this plan, before it even starts. Listen to what she told me this week.
There are questions, valid questions about a lot of people, a number of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but a number of people in this administration that have yet to be answered that are cause for some concern because of the lack of action that has followed.
So guys, this is the opening move of a new global order. One hemisphere under America, one hemisphere under China, one Eurasian superbloc that's under Russia and China combined. 3 poles, 3 empires, no Europe, no NATO, no unipolar world, with us playing the cops. So I think this is the most important geopolitical shift of our lifetime, and nobody in the mainstream press is covering it, of course. So we'll see how this all unfolds.
So we are covering it because this is what we do best. We filter what's going on in the secular world through the scriptures. So, oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming, family. All right. So, yeah, that's right. Sleeper cell. That's what those sleeper cells are. They're terrorist cells whose members work undercover in an area until sent into action. And that's what they are. They're waiting to go into action. It's as simple as that. They are waiting to go into action. So let me just touch on this clip here, all right? And then we're going to go into the scriptures, all right? From Washington, blistering, right? So mainstream media have just decided today to touch on that news, all right? So this is ABC News, right? So let's listen to what she says here.
I'm Atra al-Nashar in Washington. President Trump laying out his national security goals in a new memo that puts new focus on the Western Hemisphere. This comes as some of the president's supporters say he's straying from his America First vision. Shy of a year into his second term, President Trump details in this newly released national security memo how he wants to change America's relationships and responsibilities in every region of the globe. The president's top priority is connected to his months of strikes on alleged drug boats.
Very soon, we're going to start doing it on land, too.
Trump's memo states, after years of neglect, the United States will reassert and enforce the Monroe Doctrine to restore American preeminence in the Western Hemisphere.
If you're focused on America and America first, you start with your own hemisphere where we live.
A big part of this is creating a larger U.S. military presence in the Western Hemisphere, particularly the Navy and Coast Guard, to control sea lanes, to thwart illegal and other unwanted migration, to reduce human and drug trafficking, and to control key transit routes in a crisis. Another tactic, tariffs. The president says he's prioritizing what he calls commercial diplomacy to boost American commerce while making it harder for non-hemispheric competitors to increase their influence in the region. And the White House says we should make every effort to push out foreign companies that build infrastructure in the region. The Trump administration says all of this is part of their America First strategy, but even some of the president's own supporters argue he's too focused on foreign affairs.
America First should mean America First and only Americans first.
Where the Trump administration wants America to shoulder less responsibility is Europe, claiming the continent is in decline in part due to migration. They also accuse European leaders of having unrealistic expectations for peace in Ukraine and argue NATO should stop expanding. This memo has much in it that should encourage Russia, which also wants to stop NATO from expanding and rejects Europe's expectations for the end of its war. Now, unlike national security memos from past administrations, President Trump says it's in America's core interest to reestablish strategic stability with Russia. In Washington, I'm Atra al-Nashar.
There you go. So they're just starting to talk about it today. Let's grab some scriptures. It's all gonna end in tears. This is Revelation. I always normally say Revelations. And the apostles always correct me. It's Revelation, young man. It's Revelation. It is Revelation. It's one of those ones that rolls off your tongue. Revelation chapter 17, verse 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which is what we know today as NATO. All right. Those 10 horns, as we always tell you, were originally 10 European, what do you call them? Tribes, right? They were tribes in Europe. Those 10 horns originally, basically, who have now metamorphed, or they've become over the years, over the centuries. They're now known as the EU. Back then, they were known as the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, Lombards, the Alemannis, the Burgundians, the Franks, the Jutes, and I believe it's the Angles and the Saxons. Today they're known as the EU nations. All right. So, you know, these nations here were the ones that was giving problems to Rome. So we kind of see the same thing today. Rome, you know, Rome today would be America, really, right? That's the stronghold of Esau's, the Edomites empire would be America. That would be modern day Rome, right? Basically, and it is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. So we're kind of seeing the same thing today, right? Because it's prophetic, and this is what this is talking about here, right? In Revelation 17 and 12, it's talking about the 10 horns today, which is the EU nations. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, and which is what they did. The beast is NATO. The head of NATO is America. You know, they gave their power over to the beast. And now the beast, right, the head of the beast, should I say, the whore, the dirty whore, America, Babylon the Great, don't want nothing to do with them. All right? This is why they're going back to the Monroe Doctrine, right? Because America was colonized by these Europeans. And then, you know, during the Monroe Doctrine, when it was put forward by President James Monroe, in the early 19th century, it was about America no longer open to colonization by European powers, but America was colonized by European powers. And basically it was to do with non-intervention. So the US would not interfere in existing European colonies or internal European politics. And what you see going on between Ukraine and Russia is considered internal European politics, all right? And the other part of the doctrine was European intervention in newly independent nations of the Americas would be seen as hostile, right? So they can't. So this is what he wants to go back to, right? Because he's claiming the Western Hemisphere to be his. So this is today's powers, the European Union. It says they have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, and that's exactly what they have done. But this is what the point I'm going to make here is that the reason why they did this is because of America's military might and strength. But the victory ultimately is going to go to the Lamb, right? Yahushua, and we'll come back to that, all right? Because I want to touch on a bit in Daniel chapter 7. All right? So the horn here is talking about America, Babylon the Great. Daniel chapter 7, verse 11. I'm going to jump about in this, right? It says, I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. All right. And you heard, and this is how they think. They said, oh, the Western Hemisphere is theirs. Those are great words. Those are great words that they're speaking. They're taking total claim of the Western Hemisphere, right? The place that they invaded, colonized, brutalized, you know, indoctrinated the people all through the Western Hemisphere with their white Jesus, right? As we go, you know, that goes back to, once again, to the deadly wound being healed, right? It says here, I beheld even till the beast was slain, right? And the beast is NATO and the EU. The head of NATO is America, and his body destroyed and given to a burning flame. And that's going to be the outcome. As concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. And this is that season and time is what we're living in now. All right. We're living in that season and time now. Now I'm going to jump about in here. All right. We're going to go to verse 19. All right. Daniel chapter 7, verse 19. It says, then I will know the truth of the fourth beast. The fourth beast is the Roman Empire. All right. America is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. When you go to Revelation chapter 13, when it talks about the deadly wound being healed, that is talking about Rome coming back again as a power through the Renaissance period. And Rome's stronghold today is the United States of America. All right. Because America is set up. It's like an image. It's like America is like a mirage, not a mirage, a mirror image, should I say, of ancient Rome. All right, because their president literally acts like a Caesar. They have a senate like ancient Rome. You know, they got all the senators in ancient Rome. They had the senators as well. You know, they have all the different districts that were ruled by different governors. Rome had governors ruling different districts of its empire. So it's the same setup that we see today. And then all of the buildings, you know, the government buildings, mainly the government buildings in America were built the same way, using the same architect as ancient Rome. All right. It says, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, right, which was diverse from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with his feet. So this is first and foremost talking about ancient Rome, the Roman Empire, all right? But like I said, the Roman Empire comes back. Revelations 20 speaks about after the 1,000 years of Satan being bound, right? After that 1,000 years, the Renaissance period comes to light around the 14th, 15th centuries. That's when Renaissance period started, really around the 15th century, which would have been like 1401, 1402 is the beginning of the 15th century. All right, that's when this deadly wound was the beginning of the healing of this deadly wound, because a wound can take time to heal, right? Doesn't heal straight away. So that deadly wound was being healed, which devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue of his feet. So this is first and foremost talking about ancient Rome, Daniel 7 and 19. And then we comes, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the others which came up, and before whom 3 fell, which are the 3 empires, right? France, Spain, and England, all right? And I believe it came in this order. I'm positive it came in this order. Spain first, then France, then Britain, right? Because under Spain, it would have been under, what's her name? Queen Isabella and Ferdinand. They came together. And then under France, it would have been under Napoleon. And then the British Empire came about probably from, came to its height of its power, probably George III, all right? Who was married to, I believe he was married to Queen Victoria. It says, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, which was America. Because after these 3 fell, the American Empire became the power. All right. So, and the America kind of became the power after World War I, I would really say, when they became because the Americans left from America to come and fight alongside Britain and France against Germany during that time. It was known as the Austrian Empire during that time, basically, because Austria was part of Germany. It was all kind of called that. They called it the Austrian Empire, and they came and fought against them and they defeated them. All right. So this is that mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them, and which is what they did, basically, because when America was established, the only way the United States of America could be established, they had to make war with the saints. The saints were the Israelites that were living in the Americas, known as the 10 lost tribes of Israel, all right? The 10 lost tribes of Israel. And then they brought the southern kingdom over, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, on transatlantic slave ships. They made war with them to gather them from the West Coast to bring them over to the Americas and subjugated them there for 350 years of hardcore slavery. It says, so, and this is what we're waiting for until the Ancient of Days came. So we're waiting for the Ancient of Days is the Most High, right? And then the judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. So this is where we're heading to, all right? But before this takes place, all right, what we have to understand is that this whole society has to move into a position where the nations are literally, if not the majority of them will be gone totally digital. Microchip, which is the mark of the beast, will be in play. And then the war of Armageddon will be, the battlefield will be lit up with these nations. They will be going directly at each other, Russia, China, and their allies, Iran and their allies against America, Israel, all right? And at first, the NATO nations will be allied with them, but then at some point during that war, those NATO nations are going to turn against America, all right? So, and like I said, you got to be careful of NATO and these European nations, because I could see them doing some type of 9/11 false flag to draw America in to this war with Ukraine against Russia, but we do know for a fact that Israel is going to be the catalyst of all of this, basically. But I can see these NATO nations to keep America still involved in their European politics and the war what's going on in Europe, is that they're going to do something that may warrant them to do Article 5. But we'll see. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, right? Which is the Roman Empire. Rome, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, all right? Because Rome became the most powerful empire of its time during that time, right? And then you had the 12 emperors that ruled over Rome, the Edomite emperors that all took on the title of Caesar. So from after the first, you had the first, what they call it, not Trinity, the first, I forget what it's called, triumvirate. The first triumvirate was the three Roman generals, Marcus Cassius or Marcus Classius, Pompey, and Julius Caesar. And then after Marcus Cassius, I believe it's pronounced, his name is, right? After he died, Pompey and Caesar went to war. Caesar defeated Pompey, all right? And then Julius Caesar became the first, Roman emperor, because it went from being a republic to an empire. I believe that's how it goes. Yeah, because a republic is when you have no one power, basically, to an empire, yeah. And then he became the first Roman emperor, known as an emperor of Rome, was Julius Caesar. And then after he died, you had the second triumvirate, which was Mark Antony. Yeah, Mark Antony. Augustus. Augustus, which was Julius Caesar's, Octavia Augustus, which was Julius Caesar's adopted son, all right? And the other one was Marcus Lupidius. I believe that's what his name was, Lupidius, all right? That was the third part of the second triumvirate, all right? That formed around 40 BC, around that sort of time, 40, 45 BC, after Caesar died, basically, all right? And then they obviously did just like the first triumvirate. They went to war, Lupidius, Mark Antony, and Octavia, so forth. And then Octavia became the victor of the three, just like how Julius Caesar became the victorious of the first triumvirate. After that, what happened? Octavia Augustus became the second emperor of Rome, and then you go through the period of the 12 emperors, basically, which we know to be all Roman emperors, all right, or the 12 Caesars. I even got the book with what's his name? Suetonius wrote a book called The 12 Caesars. It's a really good read, all right? Which was Julius Caesar was the first, Augustus the second, and then his stepson was Tiberius, was the third. And then I believe Tiberius had a stepson, which was Caligula. I don't believe that was his natural son, Caligula. He was the fourth. Then Claudius was the next one. Nero, which is sitting in the White House today, right? Donald Trump. He was the sixth one. And then you had the year of the four emperors, Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and Vespasian. And then after Vespasian, you had his sons Titus and Domitian. They're known as the 12 emperors. And there was a historian called Suetonius. He wrote a book. I bought the book. It's a really good read. Seriously, it's a really good read. I used to read it every day going to work. I might have to pick it up again, but it's a really good read. It gives you really insight into these emperors and how they operated, basically, as such. Yeah, that's who they were. The brother put it up on the comment board there. Shalom to you, brother David. The 12 Caesars, yeah. Julius Caesar. Let me see if I got it right. Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, Nero. Yep. Galba, Otho, Vitellius, Vespasian. Yep. Yeah, there you go. Titus and Domitian. Those were the 12 emperors. So that's Rome. That was Rome's power back then. All right. To order for that. I'm glad that my brain is still working, functioning right. So that's the fourth beast that broke in pieces, right? That's Rome. And then you got the 10 horns. Out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, right? And another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So the 10 horns originally go back to, as I said, those 10 Germanic tribes, right? Who invaded the Roman Empire, especially during the 3rd and 4th century AD, all right? That's when they really became a power, the 10 horns, as such. And I went for them earlier, the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths and the Lombards and the Burgundies and the Franks and the Jutes and so forth. There's 10 of them anyway, all right? And another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue the 3 kings, right? Which is America, Babylon the Great. The 3 kings symbolically represent the 3 empires, Spain, France, and England. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, Babylon, right? And shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Man, are we worn out by this devil, especially in America? We truly have they've not just worn us out in Babylon the Great, they've destroyed us as a people. This is why only the elect are going to make it. Because you can see how degenerate our people have become in the United States of America. And we can see that only the elect are going to make it out of that madness. And think to change times and laws, which is what they did, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and a dividing of a time, which was symbolically represents the 350 years of slavery. That kind of leads up to the times of Abba Bivens, all right? During the late 60s, when this truth came out, and the dry bones, which are the Israelites, mainly the elect, waking up to their true heritage and their truth, all right? But the judgment shall sit. The judgment shall sit, that's in the scriptures, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. All right. So the judgment's going to sit for America. All right. America can't escape. So all of this talk about what Clayton was talking about, all these jobs coming back to America and these engineering jobs and these different types of jobs and builders and this and that and manufacturing. It's all pipe talking, right? That's what they call it, right? Pipe talking. That's I don't know if they'd say that in America, but when we say pipe talk, it's like, it's just all in the wind, basically. It's kind of like it's like when you say to someone, you tell them to stop talking or just be quiet, right? Because they're talking a lot of nonsense, right? Or if we say pipe up, it means someone is speaking up. Like, why is this guy piping up? Like someone's coming in your face saying, "Wait, mate, what you want some? You want some? You want some?" Like they want to brook a fight with you. That's when someone's piping up, right? And when we say kind of like pipe down, like stop talking, man, because it's that kind of thing. So that it's all this pipe talking. The people talking a lot of stuff, but it's not going to play out how they want it. America cannot be saved from its destiny. All right. So, like I said, we're going to move about because this is the ultimate end game. All right. The kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High. So this has to take place. This kingdom, this planet Earth is going to be reestablished as the kingdom of heaven. And it's going to be given to the saints of the Most High, which are the elect of the children of Israel, starting with the 144,000, the 12 apostles, the disciples, King David, right? And Yahushua, obviously, over all of us, right? Whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Serve. So if you're going to serve me, you're going to be what? You're going to be my slave. I'm just showing you, the Bible is as clear as day, but some people like to make it seem like the Bible is not saying what it's saying. All kingdoms, all dominions that survived the destruction, all of the remaining people of these nations are all going to serve the Most High's children of Israel, the saints, right? And they're going to obey them, all right? So if I walk down the street in the kingdom, Lord willing I make it, and I'm cutting through one of the villages of these other towns, if I call out a few people and say, you, right? I want you to come and do this. They're going to have to serve me and obey me, which meaning they're going to be my slaves. I haven't got to directly put those people in yokes of iron, but they will be mainly the Edomites, mainly the elites, because the elites are the demons, man. because there are elites amongst all of the nations, right? But the elites of Esau are at the top of the pile. The elites of the small hats they are going to go into hardcore slavery, and they're going to get yokes of iron on their wrists and on their necks, and everything that they did to us. It's going to start with the elites, all right? So the other nations will be serving us and obeying us in the kingdom, but we're going to start with the elites of Esau and the elites of all of the nations, right? Like the scripture says, their kings and their nobles, we're going to put them in what? We're going to put them in chains of iron. I am not making this up. I'm showing you what's going to take place. I think that's Psalms 149. I won't go to it, but it tells you, all right? So if we go back to Revelation, where was we? And this is what it says here. Victory for the Lamb. These shall make war with the Lamb. Because first they're going to make war with each other. All right? That's how it starts. They're going to be warring with each other. Then they're going to make war with the Lamb. The Lamb is who? The Lamb is Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All right? That's the Lamb. So the brother put it up there. Upper Bibbins, yeah. Because those are the first slaves that came to the Americas, yeah. To 1960, that's right, times and a half. Roughly estimates that 350 years. Right? That's when it really started to kick off, the slavery in the Americas, right? So you know, it's going to take place. Yeah, 69, yeah. I was going to say that, yeah. Had to be the same figure to come back zero, yeah. And that basically. So, you know, that's what's going to take place. So they will be making war, and all this, what we see going on amongst these nations, this is how we know they're going to make war with each other, all right? They're not going to be able to retract back into their holes, you know, like is it a squirrel, or what's that one that comes out of the hole? I forget what they call it. It comes out when they know it's springtime. It comes out the ground. I forget what it's called again. Groundhog Day. It was in the movie Groundhog Day with my man Bill Murray. Bill Murray's definitely a Jake, right? But yeah. So that's what's going to take place. So when we go back to Revelations, as I said here, ultimately they're going to make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen. You see, that's why I said many are called, but few are chosen, which are the saints. The saints are the elect, elect, the elect, and faithful. We're faithful to this word. We got to stay true to this word. We got to focus on prophecy, right? Because it's all about prophecy. This is all we need to be focused on, just prophecy. Let's go into the prophetic scriptures and break them down for the nation of Israel, because the elect will be able to see it. All right? We got to focus on prophecy. You know, I say this again, I've said this before, and I say it again, right? These are the things that we should be focusing on, prophecy. There's many other things that we can talk about regarding the scriptures, but the main thing we should be dealing with is prophecy. That's what we need to get locked in our heads, prophecy. And it says unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore cities, which is America, Babylon the great, are peoples, all right? Symbolic, and multitudes and nations and tongues, because America is made up of peoples from different multitudes, different nations, and different tongues. But the Israelites are scattered amongst those people as well in America, mainly the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade and the Native American Indian tribes of North America, South America, and Canada today, who they call Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicans, and Puerto Ricans. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. So the 10 horns is the EU. That's who Trump is trying to pull away from. But it's like the umbilical cord, right? He's trying to cut the umbilical cord between them and Europe. But Europe, right, say no, we're not letting you cut it. And every time Trump tries to cut it, they grab it again, and they using what do you call it, like a finger bob. What's that fire thing that they use to melt metal? I forget what they call it. To basically put it back together again. All right. What welders use. Like they use a welding iron to put that umbilical cord back together again. So the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, which is the EU, all right, these shall hate the whore. Now, the EU is made up of more than 10 nations, but when they kind of became known as the EU or the ECC, it was a 10-nation country, but more countries have joined to it, and some countries have even broken up. So, for instance, Yugoslavia was one country. Today, Yugoslavia, I think it's 5 countries, all right, after the war, basically, all right. It's about 5 countries now, kind of thing. So we see that. The 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, which is America, all right? And we're kind of seeing that today as well, because the 10 horns are absolutely disgusted with what Trump has said, but like I said, they can't really say anything in public. It's all being said behind doors. And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, because ultimately the 10 horns, the European Union, will turn their weapons against America, all right, during this war. Now, what's going to trigger that, we don't know. But something's going to cause the European Union, the rest of the beast, to turn its weapons against America. For the Most High has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, right? As I said, this is the Most High's show. This is his movie. This is his prophetic prophecies that has to be fulfilled. He's put it in their hearts, which is their minds, to fulfill his will. It's not my will. I'm just telling you. I'm breaking down the prophecies and telling you what they are. And to agree, they're going to agree. This is why I said no matter what these nations try to do to make it sound like they're being friends to the general public, behind the scenes, right? We know things ain't what they are. But ultimately, the Most High, Yahweh, through his angels, Yahweh Shai, through the angels, are using them to make sure that these nations fulfill his will and to agree. And they will give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman, which is America, Babylon the Great, which thou sawest, is that great city. There's no, right, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. That's America. That reigns over the kings of the earth, which are all the other nations. America is that great city, all right? So there's nothing that can stop what's about to take place, all right? Let me just go here. No, sorry. Daniel's 2 I want to go to. Daniel's 2, let me probably finish it here. The secret is revealed to Daniel. The secret is revealed to the Lord's prophet. As the scripture says, right? The Lord only reveals the secrets to his prophets, right? We are truly the Lord's prophets. The word prophet just means to speak before. We are telling you about these events before they take place. So now it's just kind of clearing pieces. And clearing the brass on the gold. Yeah, let me just, yeah. Here, this is where I want to come to here. The 4th kingdom, all right? This is what we're focusing on. America is the reincarnation of that 4th kingdom. Daniel chapter 2, verse 40. And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron, all right? Which originally is the Roman Empire, which I spoke about earlier. But America is that reincarnation of the Roman Empire, and it's as strong as iron today. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdues all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise, which is what the Roman Empire did. All right. Not just under those 12 Caesars, also did it under, the Caesars that came after them. You had the year of the 5, they call them the 5 good Caesars. So you had the year of the 5 good Caesars. I think the 5 good, the 5 good emperors. Or whatever, all right. I think Commodus, which was in Gladiators, was one of them. So you had Trajan, Hadrian, because he's the one that came to Britain. They built Hadrian's Wall, which still exists in the United Kingdom. Hadrian's Wall. So they did the actual things that they did. They're still here, all right. Hadrian's Wall still exists in the United Kingdom today. Antonius was another one. Marcus Aurelius was the one that was in the movie Gladiator, all right? But these are all Jakes. These are not Edomites. And what's the one that came after Domitian? It begins with N. Nerva. That's the guy. They called him the 5 good emperors, but they were still conquering anyway, all right? But they were good to their people. They obviously weren't as barbaric as the first 12, from Julius Caesar to Domitian. That's why they were known as the 5 good, right? And Esau can't do good. That's why you got to know that these were definitely Jakes, right? But when you look at their bust, the icons of their bust, you can see that they were Jake, all right? Because most of them, if not all of them, had beards, all right? To my knowledge, all right? So those were the 5 good emperors, basically. So they were still conquering, but you had different emperors that came after the first 12 Caesars. So it says here, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, which is the European Union, the kingdom shall be divided, because Europe is divided as well. They divided even on this war in Ukraine, just so you understand. And they're also divided on how to deal with America. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, right? Because they are backed by America currently, part of the beast. They're part of the beast. The head of the beast is America, which is NATO. That's the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And that's exactly what that's exactly what the European Union is today. It's partly strong and partly broken. 100%. That is the European Union today. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, which is what they have done, but they shall not cleave one to another. This is why we were the first ones to break out of the European Union, which was Great Britain. These other countries, they're looking to do the same, but they need to get rid of their current leaders, right? Which is what they're doing. This is why a lot of them are falling to that MAGA type of leadership, far right leadership in a lot of these countries. Germany got the AfD. The next election, they believe they're going to win it. In France, you got Marine Le Pen. They believe that her party is going to win the French election, which is next year. So they're all moving to that part. They're not cleaving to one another, and they want to leave the European Union, even as iron is not mixed with miry clay. All right. And then verse 44 says, and in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven, Yahweh, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. Right. So during the days of these nations having their power, going through their turmoil and their wars, Yahushua is going to come to set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. All right. And that's the Lamb going to war against these nations. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people. We're not going to leave it to the other nations. No Gentile nations are going to play any part in the rulership of the kingdom of heaven that comes to earth. They're going to be, what's that word? What they call them back in those European days? They're going to be serfs. They call them serfs back then. They're all going to be serfs, all right? I think that's what they called it. SERF. They call them serfs. They're going to be serfs. They're not going to play no part in rulership. They're going to be laborers. You're laborers, which means you're going to ultimately be a slave or a servant, basically, bound by it was a feudal system. We're going to introduce a feudal system. All right. You're going to be working on your Lord's estates. You're going to be working on the men of Israel's estates. All right. So it's going to be a feudal system. All right. If you want an easier word, right, you Gentiles, right? You're going to be living in a feudal system in the kingdom of heaven. All right. Brother can put that in the meaning of a feudal system, right? If they want to hear a gentler word to slavery, right? Because you got Israelites out there fighting they want to use a gentler word than slavery and captivity. When it's all the same thing. It's going to be a feudal system, all right? Basically, all right? Just so you understand. And in the days of these kings, said the Most High of heaven, Yahweh, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, which is the kingdom of heaven that's coming to earth. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, which means the other nations, these Gentile nations, are not going to receive salvation, right? Because receiving salvation means that you're going to play a part in establishing the kingdom of heaven and earth. As the Most High says here to the prophet Daniel, that the kingdom that's going to be established on earth, which is the kingdom of heaven, shall not be left to other people. Meaning the other nations are not going to play any part in the rulership in this kingdom. They're all going to be serfs. It's going to be a feudal system, all right? In the kingdom of heaven coming to earth. It's as simple as that. Because the only people that are going to play a part in the kingdom are going to be the saints, because the saints are going to take the kingdom, take the dominion, right? Take the kingdom and the dominion and establish it on heaven, on earth. But it shall break in peace and consume all these kingdoms. So we are going to subjugate all the other nations. So breaking in pieces, man. Come on, man. Think about what we're going to be doing. And it shall stand forever. Stand forever. For as much as thou sawest the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, right, which symbolically represents Yahushai, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, and the silver, and the gold, and the great, and the gold, right, which are all these nations today, all these Gentile heathen nations are going to be subjugated by Yahushai and the angels, right, and the 144,000, King David. The great God, which is Yahweh, the Most High, the Father, has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain. It's not an if, but so may. Oh, if the mark of the beast is gonna be a microchip. There's no ifs when we're prophesying. It's a certainty. The mark of the beast is the chip. The other nations cannot receive salvation. They're all gonna be serfs in a feudal system, serving the nation of Israel. Captivity, all right? Servants, handmaid, all right? In the kingdom of heaven coming to earth. Why? Because the dream that Daniel had, that the Most High gave to him via his angels, is certain. So I don't care what Genesis says, what GOCC says, you know, all these major camps, IUIC, Gog and Magog are going to raise up after the 1,000 years. No, mate, no one's going to rise up. We're going to crush them. Crush them. It's like what did Conan said? The best, I'm having fun here today, truly. The best things in life, he says. Is it Conan that says that? Where he says, what's best in life? And he says, to crush your enemies. I gotta watch that movie again. To see them driven before you and to hear the lamentation of their women. We're going to make a record like that in the kingdom. We're going to make 3 records. One called to crush your enemies, one called to see them driven before you, and another record called to hear the lamentation of their women, right? And that is it. And that's a reality. What is best in life? It truly is to crush your enemies and to see them driven before you, that you actually dare to witness their downfall, and then to hear the lamentation of their women, because you know they're going to be yours. So that's what's best in life. Genesis, IUIC, ISUPK. That's what's best in life. And obviously, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, worshiping the Most High and the Son Yahweh Shai. All right. So that's what's going to take place, right? Where was I? It was verse 45. So for so much as thou sawest the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, which is Yahweh Shai, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, which are all of these nations, right? Subjugating them, destroying them, bringing them to heel before the nation of Israel, the elect. The great power, which is Yahweh, has made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, right? This is the key. The dream that Daniel had around 500, 6th century BC, during his Babylonian captivity, is certain. And the interpretation thereof is sure. Just like the interpretation of the mark of the beast is the microchip. It's 100, like the Apostle Tahar says, it's 1 trillion% sure. There's no other thing what it could be. We know for a certainty that's what it is. We know ifs, buts, or maybe, right? The other nations going into captivity, servants, handmaids, serfs in the kingdom, in a feudal system, is a 100% certainty. No nations are going to receive salvation outside of the nation of Israel, and only the elect of that nation of Israel are going to receive salvation. It's 100% certainty. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is the Most High and the Son's name. 100% certainty. Those people in the land of Israel are not the true children of Israel. Is 100% certainty. But there will be Israelites mixed amongst them. Just like there will be Israelites scattered and mixed amongst the other nations and looking like the other nations. That's 100% certainty as well. They're not all going to look like Negroes. Some Israelites are going to look Caucasian. Some are going to look East Indian. Some are going to look Chinese, Japanese, Arab, because we are scattered amongst the nations. These interpretations are sure certainties. All right? So I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, as a good finishing this one here. This is the brother Kasad Bakar, Isaiah 55:11. It says, so will I, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, listen carefully. So shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. It shall not return to me void, listen carefully, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Destruction, salvation, right? And the kingdom. All these things are going to come. Simple as that. So, as always, I pray you're edified. Like I said, it's all about prophecy. want to give all the praises and the glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and to his only begotten Son, Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone, as always. Shalom to you. Shalom to the hopefully elect brothers and sisters of the house of Israel. As I always say, keep praying, keep safe, repent, and hold on to this word. Our warfare is spiritual, not carnal, right? We're about preaching and prophesying, nothing else. Just hold on to this, because the Lord, he's coming to do a new work. A new work is going to come upon the whole world. Lord willing, we are part of the elect, and the Lord spares us, and we make it. All right? We call ourselves the hopeful elect. So, shalom, shalom, shalom. And Tuada for the brothers that put out preachers on the comment board. As always, engaging in the lesson. Tuada for your support. You brothers doing what you do best, all right? And shalom to you few sisters that have been edified. All praises and glory, man. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Prophecy.